Hello, my fellow gaming takers! And as you can read, I'm pretty sure I've said something about that this year, the Swedish tanks will be coming to World of Tanks Modern Armor, World of Tanks console. Why? Because in the last little, hey, we want you to know that the season's coming to an end. The Icebound season, which featured the Challenger 1 Mark III as the season tank and the Ultimate Season Pass, and instead of featuring that, they featured the Swedish 122A, I'm pretty sure. And that's what I'm playing now, and that kind of didn't just tip the hand, but the fact that also this year there's been a couple extra Swedish tanks, premium tanks added to Cold War mode. In fact, there's like, in my mind, one of these tanks may be a bit sus. There's like 6 premium tanks. Now back to that, hinting at that suspicious tank that you might not consider part of the Swedish tank line, my made-up Swedish tank line here. But it also falls into place with the tech tree, the terrain testing going on. Because I think there's more to that than just trying to slow down heavy tanks. I'll cram that in later if I feel like it, or I just might do an own separate video. But going back to where I was saying about the Swedish tanks, here we have the Swedish 122A, and if you look up this MBT, there's a B, there's also a 121, which is a Leopard 2A4 variant. This is obviously the Leopard 2A5 variant. So, for all of us who love our T-72s and T-80s and find ourselves grinding out, finally finishing the M1 Abrams lines and being like appalled by that upper plate, and really wishing they were in a Leopard 2, no projection on this, my part. Yeah, I'm fine with more Leopard variants being brought into Cold War 1, along with if you do any research into the Swedish, actual real-world tanks and stuff, and it's kind of like, alright, Sweden, what are you doing during the winters? You guys, you got a lot going on here. It's really impressive. So, that's kind of, they will not be lacking, although, Centurions do make up a lot of that, and that at least one of them had ATGM stuck to it, although I don't know if I feel comfortable that's part going to be premium. God, that would be sick if that was part of the tech line. But, alright, let's start talking about the tanks I don't have, because I will feature the tanks I do have that I think are Swedish, and we start off with the SK-105A2 QDVG. And that's the new one that just came in. Actually, I think it's still... Is that still available? So that's the tanks. That's the Swedish tank short, part of the independent line. Then you have the Studiver 904056. And then you have... Okay, well, maybe this one isn't exactly true Swedish, but you got Mjolnir, which came out with the God of Thunders season, along with the Throngva. Now, I don't know if Mjolnir's based off of CV90 or not, but the Swedes did play around with CV90s and 120mm boom cells. As for the Throngva, that's a Kranvagen. And anyone who's played this game for a while knows that the Kranvagens are really good Swedish heavy tanks. Gotta love those autoloaders. It's a good tank. But that's a premium tank, and some may say that's more of a mercenary tank or whatever. Oh, by the way, for gameplay, I just featured tanks. I just did some quick gameplay, nothing special. Alright, this is it. This is that sort of Swedish tank, because this is the G.I. Joe Wolverine. And it has, as you can tell, ATGMs. But this was the first S-tank. And it's a tank destroyer. But anyone who's played this, or the Chieftain CTR, in Era 2 knows that turretless tanks that have no real ability to move the barrel of the boom snout in any direction. It's all about terrain resistance and how fast you can turn your hull. And this is where I think the terrain resistance test may be becoming more of a thing, because this premium tanks are sometimes a way for Wargaming to test out certain things in the game without overcommitting just yet. You know, kind of like the final beta test, and this was that, and then you had the Chieftain CTR. So I think the terrain resistance test is not just for MBT speeds in Era 3, but is also, yeah, what do you do about the Stiefel 103s, which are especially from the 70s and the 80s, pretty much Swedish's attempt at what they thought would be an MBT. And so it's kind of gonna be in a tech tree. And as things get faster and faster from Era 2 to Era 3, and yeah, turretless tanks in Era 3, I don't think anyone finds that appealing. So that's kind of where it might be like, well, will they just be relegated to Era 2? Maybe. But there could be a smidge of bleed over into those early 90s. We'll see. But that's also one of the reasons why I think the terrain resistance test is getting tested again this early in the year. So, as for, you know, Wargaming's trademark soon, and also basing some of this on the reactions of BAM 1500 and KB, whenever the Swedish tanks are now being kind of brought up a little bit more and a little bit more, it's kind of like, what? What do you mean? We didn't say anything. Nothing's been said. What are you talking about? It's just ridiculous. Poppycock. Obviously not next season, because I think, again, speculation, I think the Polish World War II tank destroyers with those interesting star barrels are a little more on the release list, a little higher up on that release list. So, if I were to speculate as to when the Swedish tank line will come in, I'll be honest with you. I think having two not Swedish premium tanks, but totally based on Swedish-esque tanks, last year for Metal Fest kind of leads me to believe that. And that's that band has some tanks. What's that hard rock metal band that Wargaming is sponsors and always features? Savatage. Yes, Savatage. They have some Savatage tanks and in the game already. So I think, I'm totally not hoping and praying that KISS totally screwed over Metal Fest, and Metal Fest 2025 was a huge success, so that we will still have Metal Fest 2026. That the Swedish tank line in Cold War would coincide with that. Like and subscribe if you are looking forward to the Swedish thing and are hoping. Comment down below what you think, and also hoping and praying that we have Metal Fest 2026. Because that makes me happy. And last year's KISS, I don't know if that was quite as appealing. I don't know, I made a video about that anyways. So anyway, again, we have 6, maybe 7. I might be forgetting a tank. Comment down below if I am, but already off the top of my head. You have 6 premium Swedish tanks. That is at the very basis or is at least 3 per era, that's a third of a tank line. Okay? And if you look at like the BMP line and sort of the British tank line, which has a gap here or two for that for the Challenger 2 MBT, is kind of like, you know what? They don't need to have 3 tanks in every era. But the Swedish amount of Swedish tanks there are seems to be that could facilitate that. Again, the possibility of having to endure even 3 Centurion, even if modified and upgraded Centurions in Era 2, possibly Era 3, is, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. Oh my god. Could you imagine any sort of Centurion and coming up against an ADATS? Oh god, that lower plate. Oh, I'm getting lightheaded just thinking of all that fear. Alright, anyway. I've said my piece. What do you think? Again, with the amount of premium tanks alone, like, I don't think there's any other nation that has this many premium tanks in-game, that's including War II, without having already a tech tree line. Like, they've been dropping hints and bombs for this tank line for years now. Because what, did the Wolverine come out like in the 2nd or 3rd year of the Cold War mode? And it's just like, alright, come on. Stop teasing. I don't know if it'd be a spectacular tank line. Again, just sort of a few unique Swedish tanks, and then some other nations their versions of other nation tanks, and it's kind of like, I'm pretty sure a lot of what they needed to make these things is already in game. Obviously, like I said, Centurion, Leopard 2, so it's like, yeah, we know the base is there. It's just like, what else? I mean, are you gonna bring out Ukrainian tanks? You gonna bring out another Warsaw Pact nation? All right. I mean, I wouldn't mind another Eastern Alliance tank line, but I also think the Independence tank line might need to be filled out a little bit more. You know, give them a few more lines, because what Western Alliance has 3-ish. France, Germany, England, America, so 4. As for Eastern Alliance, you have Soviets, Chinese, and the Soviets, they kind of dominate that one with the Romanians. So there's several nations, I should say. I shouldn't say specific nation. And then independence, you have Japan, Israel. And it's like, yeah, they could do with another one. If my college math here is correct. Anyway, enough of this. Comment down below. What do you think? Are you looking forward to... Are really getting sick and tired of waiting for the Swedes? Alright? Come on. We need our Swedish meatballs. Oh, wait. Next season has the Italian Erete tank. Oh, God. If we get the Italians before the Swedes after all these premium tanks, that is Wargaming logic. That is something Wargaming would do. Alright. Enough of this. I hope you keep the tracks on the ground. RNG's in your favor. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.